Hey folks, welcome to a full overview of the Aitum app. Now that you have Aitum fully installed, it is now time to take an actual dive into what each section does. When you first open up, you'll be met with the home screen. This includes what the latest updates to the app are, links out to our Stream Deck plugin, help documentation, tutorials, custom code API documentation, and finally a link to our Discord. The Community Spotlight is a video from a member of the community with a very cool creation. And finally, links at the bottom to our social media accounts and website. Next, we have the rules section. This is the main working brain of Aitum and where you will be spending most of your time. Across the top, there are 3 buttons: adding a rule, adding a folder, and importing and exporting rules. A rule consists of 3 parts: the trigger, a check, and an action. The trigger is when you select an integration to run the rule, for example, a channel point redemption on Twitch, or maybe a scene change inside OBS. A check is when you can then look at the specifics from either a rule check, such as a global variable, or a data check, such as a Twitch user status. You can also run a data check before a rule check for them to relate to one another. And finally, an action is where you can configure the outcome of the rule. For example, if someone has redeemed a channel point in Twitch, you can then show a source within OBS. With adding folders, you can then categorize your rules in terms of trigger types, or if one rule relies on another rule, you can keep them together under one folder. The import-export wizard allows you to share your creation with other users and import their rules as well. A more detailed video on this is down in the description below. Next up is the queues section. This is where we can set it up so that your rules can be regulated from firing off all at the same time. You can choose whether or not if there's more than one rule running at once and how many sections each they should wait before firing. This is an extremely helpful tool to use, especially if you have rules you don't want interrupted by one another. After setting up a queue, head back to your rules section and select the queue within your rule to assign it. The next section is for Twitch redemptions. This is where you can set up your channel points for Aitum to read and control. You can choose the name, description, color, user input, cost, and cooldown from here. However, if you wish to add an icon, you'll have to do this inside your creator dashboard. You can also group these redemptions together, allowing ease of access to turn them on and off in batches through a rule within Aitum. Next up, we have the variables section. There are 5 different types of variables you can choose from. These are text, whole number, decimal, switch, string list. This section is for more advanced usage, in which you can define a specific variable for reading or writing from within a rule. For example, you could have a text string that will update on the latest follower from Twitch, or if you need to count something from a rule, this is where you can define that count. The final section we're going to take a look at in this video is the settings section. The first option is Aitum settings. This is where you can customize the look of the Aitum app in terms of hiding text and ordering rule folder position, and the sorting within the Stream Deck plugin. You can also reset the Aitum app back to its default state and access your custom code API in here too. Integrations. This is where you set up the apps you want Aitum to integrate with. From OBS to Philips Hue and other social platforms like TikTok, this is where we link out to them for them to be able to be used within a rule. You can also reset the connection to Aitum inside here to make sure that your integration is always connected. There will be more services integrated in the future. Keep up to date with this on our social platforms and Discord. Next up is extensions. This is where you can see which extensions you have enabled within your Aitum.tv account. To add or remove them, click on the button and configure them within the Aitum dashboard. The final 2 items are a link out to the documentation for the app and the licensing section attributing to all the lovely developers who make Aitum possible. But that's all for it in this video. As we add more services by Aitum, there will be an updated video on this in the future. I hope this video was helpful, and if you have any other questions or if you have created something very cool to show us, feel free to join the Discord or follow our Twitter. Links to both will be in the description down below.